guys, it's Stacy with FiXX. We are going to bring you a little yoga session this morning, and basically it is a rejuvenative style yoga. So it's just meant to kind of unwind you, very, very beginner friendly. And if you are in the super tight category, you might want to get, the only prop you might need today would be like a towel so that you can do some assisted stretching. So we are going to start off just in a simple butterfly position. So we're sitting foot to foot, and the thing we want to do first is really lengthen the spine and tuck the chin back. When I say tuck the chin back, you're just kind of pulling it back and aligning your ears over your shoulders. So from here, we just want to start our mindful breathing pattern, and we're breathing in through the nose and out through the nose for 3 to 4 seconds in each direction. So starting to get your mindful breathing going. Really lengthening the spine and thinking about spinal decompression right now. So the whole purpose and intention for today's session, for me to bring to you, is to help improve posture and spinal length. And just for you to be very aware of where the tension is in your body, and to help really send some oxygen to that area, see if you can't get a little bit of release. So we're going to be holding our poses for anywhere for 20 to 30 seconds. So from this butterfly pose, we are just going to simply start with a seated hip stretch. We're going to keep everything very basic today, guys. So you're going to pull your left knee into your chest, and again, you are going to have all that spinal length. So when I say spinal length, and instead of slouching into it, you're really going to lift through the crown of the head, pulling your knee into the chest, and you should feel that in your left hip. Now what I like to do here is I like to take my right elbow on that left knee, keep the length, and then give it a spinal rotation. So I'm going to be looking over the left shoulder. So a little bit of a spinal twist. You're going to stay with your breathing pattern here, guys. In through the nose, lengthen, and out through the nose. Now you don't have to add this twist today. Remember, our number one rule at FiXX is if it hurts, don't do it. You could stay with this simple seated hip stretch. So we're going to switch that to the other side. We're going to take the right knee into the chest. We're going to immediately start to elongate that spine. Breathing through the movement, if it's available to you, you'll take the left elbow behind that right knee. Keep your length, and then rotate. And back to center. From here, we're going to do a simple little hamstring stretch rotation, and this is where those of you that might be on the tighter end of the spectrum could certainly use your assistance here by taking the towel over the feet, because you want to lift first, then you want to hinge, then you want to fold. So basically, from a side view, you want to inhale, lengthen, hinge, and then fold. So if you can't really grab a hold of your ankles or your feet, using the towel to assist you here, and then just being able to sink in. Now I'm already have a little bit too much mobility, so I'm not going to really work on the intensity of my stretches today. I'm looking for more of a muscle and joint balance. So I'm not going to use the towel, and I'm just going to kind of feel everything out, and I'm looking for, do I feel the same side, same on the right side as I do on the left side. Now to just just kind of focus on one side at a time. We're going to take the right leg and we're going to keep it out. So the right leg is out, the left leg is bent. Again, we always want that length. We're going to inhale up fully. We're going to hinge and we're going to fold and we're going to grab either the ankle or the toe here. Again, your assistance would be using your prop, getting it around that foot, and then gently pulling on that towel to help with your stretch. I think one of the most important things about stretching is that you're not going to the point to where it's painful. If it makes you crinkle up your eyes or your face or whatever, then you're going too deep and the muscle is just going to fight back. So it's very important here that you just go to the point to where you feel a pull, and then with breath and time, that pull should soften or melt away. And if you never get that soften or melt away sensation, then you are definitely holding. You've gone to the point of it's too much of a stretch. So back out of it and then back in at a gentler angle. And then switching the same thing to our other side. Left leg out, right foot in. First we're going to inhale, fully lengthen, hinge, and fold. When I first started doing yoga, I really took for granted how important the breathing aspect was, and really had a lot of interesting discoveries over the past couple of years working with physical therapists, and how important your breathing is to how well you can engage and use all of the muscles in your body. And so it really is a key part to feeling and performing as well as you absolutely can. From here, we're going to be going to a wide hamstring stretch. And I like to start this with toes to nose and the hands behind the back to really lengthen the spine. And this is all I've got, so I'm going to stay right here. But if you have a lot more mobility and you want to go a little deeper, you certainly can walk your hands forward and fold. I'm going to stay right here. I definitely feel more tension in my right hamstring than my left, so I'm just going to kind of breathe into that space for a moment. Again, what I'm looking for today is just balance, my right side and my left side, with my muscles and my joints. I'm not looking necessarily to create a bunch of length. From here, we're going to close those ankles up again, and we're going to inhale fully, hinge, exhale, fold, and that should feel so much better than the first time we did this, guys. Lovely. Okay, so from here, we're just going to go ahead and transition into a quad stretch. So I'm taking my right foot back. Make it to where your knee is comfortable. And you've got your right quad on stretch, and you can stay high up here and just stretch that quad very safely. You can drop back to your elbows, or you could certainly lay all the way down. I'm going to stay here on my elbows. So that's going to get the quad. That might get up into your hip flexor a little bit. Whew, that is tight. Again, is it too much? I'm feeling like my stretch is a little bit too much right here and it's not going to soften. So I'm going to back up a little bit and go to a little more of a gentle angle. just did a really hard bike workout and they are talking. Switching to the other side. Left foot back. Putting that quad on stretch, and I'm just trying to assess, does it feel the same as the other side? Yep, tight, so I'm not going to drop back to my elbows. I'm going to stay up nice and high. If yours feels good and you want to drop down, go ahead. So normally I would have some very cool music playing in the background, but I have just recently found out that when you do YouTube videos, you can't play music in the back, or it's like banned, or there's all kind of rules on that. And I'm learning, and I have so much more to learn. Alright guys, that feels nice. So now we are going to transition over to our belly on all fours. And we're going to just do, basically start off with our first up dog and down dog of the day. So I would like you to place your hands right under your shoulders. You're going to send your hips up. You can keep your knees soft here because we're just getting in. I'd like you to push all 10 fingers through the floor. And lifting the tailbone up, soft knees, heels dropping down towards the ground. Slowly transition into your high plank, lowering down to the mat. Inhale, exhale, cobra. Many of you may feel some pressure in the low back here. And then from here, we're going to shift our hips back into child's pose. Knees wide and forehead down on the mat. One more time, we're going to send those hips up for down dog. Maybe the knees are a little bit longer this time. Shifting into high plank, lowering into the mat. Inhale, exhale, spread those collarbones for your cobra. And shift those hips back into child's pose. I'd like you to come back to all fours, and we're going to go through a little bit of a hip flexor series. I'd like you to take a runner's lunge forward and go ahead and balance yourself on that right foot. So that foot is active, it's pushing into the floor and the arch is lifting. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our rib cage and we're going to keep it attached to our pelvis. Many of us dump into this hip flexor stretch and we just dump in and we get into our low back. What I'd like you to do is keep the ribs attached to the pelvis, then push forward, and that might limit you, that's all I can go if I do it correctly. I'm active in this rear glute, this left glute, and I'm pushing forward, and I'm going to take my thumbs on my belt line. I'm going to inhale up fully, steeple my fingers, and breathe. Right now what I'm doing is I'm pushing my left knee into the ground as I'm raising my steeple fingers as high as I can. I'd like you to lift a little bit higher and then float over to the right, just an inch or two. Back to center. Reach a little bit higher. And then we're going to back out, and we're going to do that one more time. So if that stayed tight the whole time you did that and it didn't feel any better, we went a little too deep. So I think I'm going to have to go a little less severe this time, or a little less intense. Thumbs on my belt line, tuck my chin back. Inhale up, steeple the fingers. I'd love as much length as you can give me from your left knee to your fingertips. If you could keep this glute active, meaning engaged, then this hip flexor can do a better job of releasing or have an easier task at releasing. Lift up a little bit higher and then float over to the right. Back to center. Then both hands down on the floor for your lizard lunge. Now for this lizard lunge, if you have more mobility and you want to drop down to your elbows, you certainly can. This is all I've got. So I'm going to stay right here and breathe. So from this lizard lunge, I am going to transfer into a pigeon pose. So I'm toe heeling the foot over. And as you know, if the foot is towards the top of the mat, it's going to be a more aggressive stretch. If the foot is towards the back, it's going to be less aggressive. I'm going to keep my foot towards the back. First thing you do is level off your belt line. That means that you're not rolled off to one side or the other. And then when you're ready, you can certainly drop down to your elbows and let your forehead fold into the mat. Now, as I already stated, I have a little bit too much mobility, so I'm looking for balance. I'm not looking to create more muscle length. So I'm going to stay upright and I'm going to breathe. Now, if this feels good, I'd like you to stay right here. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you could join me for a king pigeon, where we are going to grab the back foot, putting the back quad on stretch, and we're going to flare open the left shoulder. So now we've got the back quad and the left shoulder getting engaged as well. For me, I really feel this opening up my left chest muscle. Let that foot float back down. We're going to tuck the toes under. We're going to lift into down dog. And coming back down to the mat. We're going to repeat that sequence on the other side. So now the left foot is in front. It is active, short foot as we call it here at FiXX. We're going to tuck the chin back and we're going to push the hips forward a little bit, not too much, thumbs on the belt line. Inhale up fully. Keeping that rib cage pulled down so that we're not dumping into our low back. Lift a little higher and then float to the left. Getting open the hip flexor and psoas, guys. So important to keep these muscles loose to reduce back pain. Back to center, lift. And let's back out of that and relax. Did you get a little looser with that, or do you need to back off some? Or can you intensify that stretch and go a little deeper on this second rotation? Here we go. We're going to attach the ribs to the pelvis. We're going to push forward. Thumbs on the belt line. We're going to inhale all the way up. Steeple the fingers. Lift up a little higher and float those fingers to the left. Back to center. Reach, push the right knee into the ground. Reach the fingers for the ceiling. Give me a lot of spinal decompression here. And hands down to the mat for our lizard lunge. So again, if it's available to you, you can certainly drop down to your elbows right here. I'm going to stay up nice and high. From here, you're going to toe heel the foot over, either to a high angle towards the top of your mat for more intense stretch, or the foot towards the back of the mat like me for less of a stretch. The belt line in the back is nice and squared off. Your shoulders are squared off. And once you've gotten that set, you can certainly drop to your elbows and sink your forehead down into the mat. I'm going to stay up nice and high, and I'm looking for that balance between right side and left side. So the thing is if you have a lot of mobility like me, it's very important that you're backing it up with the strength to support your mobility, because you can kind of get into a jam with chronic pain if you only have mobility and you don't have strength behind that mobility, because you're going to have unstable joints. So mobility is good, and we promote that, but we have to have the strength to back it. So in all of our TRX classes here, we blend mobility with stability and strength, so we can kind of have the total package. Now you can stay here, or you can join me for that king pigeon. So we're going to take that back foot, we're going to flare open that right shoulder, putting that back quad on stretch. Tuck the toe under, lift the hips for down dog. On this down dog, we're going to see if we can get our heels a little closer to the mat, knees a little longer, ears further away from these shoulders. Pushing into a high plank, slowly lowering to your mat. Inhale, exhale, cobra. Back to all fours, and we're going to work our way to our back. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of a spinal rotation. So we are going to take our right knee with our left hand. We're going to bring that knee over towards the ground, and we're going to send our right hand as far as we can out, and we're going to look through those fingertips. So many of you will feel this in your right hip. You could also feel this in your low back. For people that have tight pecs like me, you might also feel this through your chest muscles right here. Let's return to center, bending our knees. Let's straighten the right leg. Let's take the left knee up and over. This left knee is going to come down to the ground. And the left hand is going to reach out. So we're all going to feel this a little differently. I honestly feel this more in my chest muscles than I do my hips. Some people are going to feel this more in their hips and low back, and they don't feel anything in their shoulder area. So we're all unique, guys. Let's go back to center. Let's take both of our knees up and hug them to our chest. And if it feels good to you, just rock them right and left. Just kind of massaging out that low back a little bit. We're going to just finish with a relaxing pose here. I want the legs to go out long and let the toes flop open. Palms up, and we're going to do a little head to toe check to see if we're completely relaxed. Let's start at the feet, and let's make sure that our feet are very lazy and heavy into the floor. And then monitor the space behind the back of the knees. Make sure that they're nice and long and open. Hip area sinking into the mat. As we go up into the middle back, we want to make sure it's nice and loose and heavy. And then the area where most of us are going to carry our secret tension, right in between the shoulder blades, the jaw, and the forehead. Let's make sure that you are sending as much relaxation as possible. For the next minute, I'd like you to just do nothing and worry about nothing about them other than just relaxing and breathing. And killed by the cell phone. Rolling our way over to our right side, and then helping yourself all the way up to a seat. Lessons learned, turn off your cell phone before you do a yoga class on YouTube. That felt better than I anticipated, guys. I'm not a big yogi, but I do appreciate some mindful meditation and stretching every once in a while. Namaste to all of you. I hope you enjoyed a very beginner yoga session from FiXX.